Like, you are the first, the guy talking as well.
Now we're recording. And I think Marciano's got a pretty good creepypasta reading story voice.
I think so too.
But it's LJ's turn to read it, just like it was
I read last time.
That drat. Fine.
So wait.
We're recording, by the way.
We gotta introduce what we're reading.
Alright, we'll be reading Squidward's Suicide. A creepypasta story.
You know, I haven't even read this yet and I already want to commit suicide.
And it's one of the most popular ones.
Right.
You know, Gabe, and I know he's not on call, but for someone who's trying to go to bed, he's not going to bed.
Well, he was just saying he wasn't interested and said peace.
Well, we're not interested in anything he has to say either.
But anyways, alright, let's get the show on the road.
Here's today's pasta. I just want to start off by saying if you want an answer at the end, prepare to be disappointed. There just isn't one. I was an intern at Nickelodeon Studios for a year in 2005 for my degree in animation. It wasn't paid, of course. Most internships aren't, but if it did have some perks beyond education. To adults, it might seem like a big one, but most kids at the time would go crazy over it. Now, since I work directly with the editors and animators, I got to view the new episodes days before they aired. I get right to it without giving too many unnecessary details. They had very recently made the SpongeBob movie, and the entire staff was somewhat sapped of creativity, so it took them longer to start up the season. Hang on, I gotta scroll down. And there we go. But the delay lasted longer for more upsetting reasons. There was a problem with the Series 4 premiere that set everyone and everything back for several months. Me and two other interns were in the editing room along with the lead animators and sound editors for the final cut. We received a copy that was supposed to be Fear of the Krabby Patty and gathered around the screen to watch. Now, given that it isn't final yet, animators often put up a mock little title card. Sort of an inside joke for us, with phony, oftentimes lewd titles, such as How Sex Doesn't Work, instead of a Rock-a-Baby Bovine. When SpongeBob and Patrick adopt a sea scout, nothing particularly funny but work-related chuckles, so when we saw the title card Squidward's Suicide, we didn't think of it more than a morbid joke.
I'm pretty sure that's not a real thing, but possibly could be. He's like, he got to work under Nickelodeon. Let me tell you about it. Animation capital of the world other than Pixar. That's lucky, man. Internship at Nickelodeon.
I know, right?
It is. One of the interns did a small throat laugh at it. The happy-go-lucky music plays as is normal. The story begins with Squidward practicing his clarinet, hitting a few sour notes like normal. We hear SpongeBob laughing outside, and Squidward stops, yelling at him to keep it down as he has a concert that night and needs to practice. SpongeBob says okay and goes to see Sandy with Patrick. The Bubbles splash screen comes out and we see the ending of Squidward's concert. This is when things began to seem off. Let's see. While playing, a few frames repeat themselves, but the sound doesn't, at this point, sound is synced up with the animation, so yes, that's not common. But when he stops playing, the sound finishes as if the skip never happened. There's a slight murmuring in the crowd before they begin to boo him. Not normal cartoon booing that is common in the show, but you can very clearly hear malice in it. Squid was in full frame and looks visibly afraid. The shot that goes to the crowd with SpongeBob in the center frame, and he too is booing. Very much unlike him. This isn't the oddest thing, though. What is odd is everyone had hyper-realistic eyes.
Of course, hyper-realistic. I was waiting for that.
Clearly not shots of real people's eye, but something a bit more rare than CGI. The pupils were red. Some of us looked at each other, obviously confused. But since we weren't the writers, we didn't question its appeal to children.
Are you kidding me? Man, they must... I don't know, they're the test audience or something, so they should be like, yeah, that's not gonna fly with the parents.
By the way, real quickly, what's your guys' thoughts when they do those morbid SpongeBob pictures in the episodes, like more crabs and stuff?
It's hilarious.
It's
like, oh,
It is hilarious in that context, at least.
I like the episode when they read the sentence enhancers off the garbage can.
The shot goes to Squidward sitting on the edge of his bed, looking very forlorn. The view of his porthole window is a night sky, so it is very long after the concert. The unsettling part is at this point there is no sound, literally no sound, not even the feedback from the speakers in the room, as if the speakers were turned off, though their status showed them working perfectly. He just sat there blinking in the silence for about 30 seconds, then he started to sob softly. He put his hands, tentacles, over his eyes and cried quietly for a full minute more, all the while a sound in the background very slowly growing from nothing to a bare audible. It sounded like a slight breeze through a forest.
I remember this episode. It was really boring.
That's for sure. Scrolling down. The screen slowly begins to zoom in on his face. By slow, I mean it's only noticeable if you look at shots 10 seconds apart side by side. His sobbing gets louder, more full of hurt and anger. The screen then twitches a bit as if it twists in on itself for a split second, then back to normal. The wind through the trees sound gets slowly louder and more severe, as if a storm is brewing somewhere. The eerie part of this sound and Squidward's sobbing sounded real, as if the sound wasn't coming from the speakers, but as if the speakers were holes the sound was coming through from the other side. As good a sound as the studios likes to have, they don't purchase the equipment to be that good to produce sound of that quality.
Oh wow, what a downer.
That's for sure. Ugh.
Yeah, like, oh, Nickelodeon is so cheap, they can't even afford speakers that sound realistic. Ooh!
Boring. Below, the sound of the wind and sobbing very faint. Something sounded like laughing. It came at odd intervals and never lasted more than a second, so you
This is the most boring thing I've ever read in my life.
Don't you mean most boring thing I ever read?
Yes, the most boring thing LG's ever read, and he's trying his darndest to make it sound interesting.
Which is not. Hard
What might
time.
go better with this would probably be a picture, but I don't know.
You know what would go better with this? A better story!
Hard time pinning it. We watched this show twice, so pardon me if things sound too specific, but I had time to think about them. After 30 seconds of this, the screen blurred and twitched violently, and something flashed over the screen as if a single frame was replaced. Dang, I hate scrolling down. The lead animation editor paused and rewound frame by frame. What we saw was horrible. It was still a photo of a dead child. He couldn't have been more than 6. The face was mangled and bloody, one eye dangling over his unturned face. Pop! He was naked down to his underwear and his stomach currently cut open and his entrails laying beside him. He was laying on some pavement that was probably a road.
Let me tell you, man, them animators is having a bad day or something.
Yeah, there's one that... There's another one,
Somebody's gonna get fired.
Bart's Dead. That was also a pretty grim thing where the animator just said, it said that Matt Groening in the Creepypasta just had a really bad day, and whenever you mention it, he just, well, you don't mention it, put it that way.
You're fired! Anyway, the most upsetting part was there was a shadow of the photographer. There was no crime tape, no evidence tags or markers, and the angle was completely off for a short designed to be evidence. It would seem the photographer was the person responsible for the child's death. We were, of course, mortified, but pressed on, hoping that it was just a sick joke.
But don't forget, this might be what children are into nowadays, because nobody's like, stop the film, this is terrible. They're just like, oh, we're just going to sit here and watch this is okay.
I mean,
they're just going to release it to the public.
They just want to keep going and going to see what happens if they want to get terrified. It happens all the time, I'm afraid. The screen flipped back to Squidward, still sobbing louder than before, and half body and frame. There was now what appeared to be blood running down his face from his eyes. The blood was also done in a hyper-realistic style, looking as if you touched if you get blood on your fingers. The wind sounded now as if it were that of a gale blowing through the forest. There were even snapping sounds of branches, the laugh, a deep baritone, lasting longer intervals and coming merely more frequently. After about 20 seconds, the screen again twisted and showed a single frame photo. Oh, God. This is the most boring story I ever read.
I know, you kidding me? And I'm the one who read Twilight to chapter 10 before I couldn't read it anymore because it was boring.
The editor was reluctant to go back. We all were, but he knew he had to.
Why? Just stop the film. Obviously something's wrong with it. If you haven't figured it out by now, you're dumber than T1 Weasel.
That's saying a lot. That is saying a lot.
Maybe it's saying too much.
Dang it, I lost my place. Hang on. Okay. This time the photo was that of what appeared to be a little girl, no older than the first child. She was laying on her stomach, her breasts in a pool of blood next to her. Her left eye was too popped out and popped, naked except for underpants. Really? Same as the boy? Her entrails were piled on top of her above another crude cut along her back. Again,
this is a murder tape disguised as a SpongeBob episode, I guess.
That's for sure. Again, the body was on the street, and the photographer's shadow was visible, very similar in size and shape to the first. I had to choke back vomit, and one intern, the only female in the room, ran out. The show resumed.
In fact, I think I'm going to do exactly that right now.
About 5 seconds after this second photo played, Squidward went silent, as did all sound like it was when the scene started. He put his tentacles down, his eyes were now done in hyperrealism, like the others were in the beginning of this episode. They were bleeding, bloodshot, and pulsating. He just stared at the screen as if watching the viewer. After about 10 seconds, he started sobbing, this time not covering his eyes. The sound was piercing and loud, and most fearing-inducing. All of its sobbing was mixed with screams. Tears and blood were dripping down his face at a heavy rate. The wind sound came back, and so did the deep voice.
That video's boring.
That's for sure. And this time, the still photo lasted for a good 5 frames. Ugh.
Are they still contemplating whether or not to put this on the channel or something?
I don't know. I don't think this is not worth it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, this is really boring. We should have just read the story I wanted to read. It's too loud.
I don't know if the music helps. Oh well, I guess
But
I'm
this
up.
music is
Bloody
cheerful.
tears.
Uh,
Bloody tears.
the animator was able to stop it on the 4th and backed up.
Why would you back up? Idiots! It's like, oh, there's a picture of a dead boy. Let me go back so you can see it.
This time the photo was of a boy, about the same age, but this time the scene was different. The intros were just being pulled out from a stomach wound by a large hand.
What does this have to do with Squidward and suicide? SpongeBob?
I think it's getting there.
The right eye.
It doesn't really sound like suicide. It sounds like he saw a sodomy story happened and his eyes bled out.
No, that can't be it. He probably saw like a grandma naked.
Well.
Well.
Okay.
There's a video to go along with this one.
It's really boring, though. It's just literally him zooming in really slowly and noise in the background.
Oh.
It's boring. It's just as boring as his story, as a matter of fact.
Well, you never know. Some people are afraid of different things. Maybe this will appeal to somebody.
Probably. The entrails were just being pulled out from a stomach wound by a large hand. The right eye popped and dangling, blood trickling down it. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. Really? You couldn't tell? Seriously? Y'all people are some effed up people, animators, that's for sure.
I know. How the hell?
What was that you're saying about Nickelodeon, Robert?
They have a lot of money. They can get away with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but they lack of intelligence, knowledge, and information.
A lot of the idiots in this world have the money.
Yeah, but they're not that smart either.
Bill Gates has the money, but he wouldn't fix Xbox. He just wants it to make him more money.
Exactly.
And all they wanted is... Sorry, I'm going off topic. The animator proceeded. It was hard to believe, but the next one was different, but we couldn't tell what. He went on to the next. The same thing. He went back to the first and played them quicker, and I lost it. I vomited on the floor, the animating and sound and just grasping at the screen.
Oh, now they're just gasping at the screen? Alright, let's continue.
The 5 frames...
Delayed reaction much?
The 5 frames were not as if they were 5 different photos. They were played out as if they were frames from a video. We saw the hand slowly lift up the guts. We saw the kid's eye focus on it. We even saw 2 frames of the kid beginning to blink. He started a blank after some dude is pulling his intestines out.
Diablo 2? Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Not that much.
But you have seen it.
Yeah.
Just think, LJ, this isn't the longest creepypasta out there.
I feel like I'm about to quit.
Yeah, beats. Okay, we gotta. If you want me to finish reading it, or Marciano, it's not that much left, in fact.
I'll continue reading it. I'm not doing the voice, though. You know what? Might as well do it anyway. The lead sound editor told us to stop. He had to call in the creator to see...
Oh, now they ask him to stop. Okay. Yeah, alright.
Here goes Robert's rage mode.
Now I can't stop laughing.
Why would he now just say stop? Should have said stop after the first picture. Not even before the first picture even showed up. In fact, I think we should have stopped before we even started reading the story. It's boring.
Should we stop, though?
No, we already got this far. We gotta finish.
Yeah. We can't leave it hanging like Robert did the Sodomy Story 3-quel.
Hey, we haven't finished that yet. It's just we're not gonna do it right now forever.
He had to call in the creator to see this. Mr. Hellingberg arrived within about 15 minutes. He was confused as to why he was called down there, so the editor just continued the episode. Once the few frames were shown, all screaming, all sound again stopped. Squidward was just staring at the viewer full frame of the face for about 3 seconds. The shot quickly panned out, and a deep voice said, "Do it."
Jesus Christ, what are these animators doing? Why? They must have been having a really bad day.
I know, right?
And we see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. He immediately puts the gun in his mouth and pulls the trigger.
Now here's the thing. Since it's gunpowder, it wouldn't work underwater. The gunpowder wouldn't ignite.
True. Realistic
They
blood.
constantly do plays about that, about fire working underwater. By the way, wouldn't he be having trouble with the shotgun anyway, seeing as
He has no
he
fingers.
has tentacles, not fingers?
That's not true. We see in Squidward's hands a shotgun. I already read that. Realistic blood and brain matter splatters the wall behind them.
Talk about a drama queen, Jesus.
And he flies back with the force.
The Force, it's Star Wars creepypasta now.
Something dark side.
The last 5 seconds of this episode show his body on the bed on his side, one eye dangling on what's left of his head above the floor, staring blankly at it, and then the episode ends. Ah, dang it, I got like a few paragraphs left. Mr. Hillingberg is obviously angry at this. He demanded to know what the heck was going on.
So do I.
I think we all do. Even though it's obviously murder tape.
Most people left the room at this point, so it was just a handful of us to watch it again.
Wait, whoa. You're gonna watch it again? Why? You already saw it.
The only unanswered part is Squidward shooting himself. That's it.
Well, he didn't do good at his thing. Everybody booed him off the stage at the concert.
Okay, never mind. You're right.
What a drama queen. Also, I watch it again. You clearly saw it the first time.
Yeah.
Excuse me? No. Dang. Most people left the room at this point. I already read that. Let's see now. Viewing the episode twice only served to imprint the entirety of it in my mind.
The entirety?
Yeah, entirely of it in my mind and caused me horrible nightmares. I'm sorry, I stayed.
You're an idiot. You should have stayed.
The only theory we could think of was the file was edited by someone in the chain from the drawing studio to here. The CTO was called in to analyze when it happened. The analysis of the file did show it was edited over by new material. However, the timestamp of it was mere 24 seconds before we began viewing it. All equipment involved was examined for foreign software and hardware as well as glitches, as if the timestamp may have may have glitched and showed the wrong time, but everything checked out fine. We don't know what happened, and to this day, nobody does.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't think this episode is gonna get past the FCC.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
There was an investigation due to the nature of the photos, but nothing came out. No child seen was identified, and no clues were gathered from the data involved nor physical clues in the photos. I never believed unexplained phenomena before, but now that I have something happen and can't prove anything about it beyond anecdotal evidence, I think twice about it. And that's it.
So, rating as creepypasta and rating as story.
Alright.
Negative 100.
For both?
I think we should make creepypasta and story the same rating.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess I'll say. Alright, so, not really I mean, I felt a little something, boredom, but, I don't know. I guess I'll give it a 3, because it was really boring. It didn't make any sense why they would watch it again, or why they would keep watching it. Or why after so long into the video that they would finally tell them to stop. And it's like T1 Weasel wrote this. I'm just saying, this sounds like something T1 Weasel would write.
It was trying to be this big, huge build-up to Squidward's suicide, and
it doesn't even explain it.
But...
And they don't even. It's like, what? So I feel like
they said that they wouldn't provide an answer, but still, like, yeah. I mean, I could understand how some people would find this creepy, but to us, this is just really more so boring.
They give it a 4.8 rating out of 5. What is this, a Call of Duty game on IGN?
I think most people are got by the picture, the second picture.
And even that video is boring.
It's not really creepy, though.
It's just kind of like, It makes me wish I was reading something else.
It just sounded like a newbie, like someone who started this creepypasta, but didn't understand the whole fundamentals of it.
What if we wrote one, huh?
Yeah, that would be troublesome.
You'd have to write one with T1 Weasel being the guy who gets pwned.
That would be much troublesome. I suggest.
Matter of fact, it doesn't say who submitted this, does it?
I think everything is anonymous, but especially since it's on the wiki, not the actual website. No, it doesn't actually. View source.
We could say added by a bushcraft medic.
Bushcraft.
I don't know if that's just a picture or not, though.
Bushcraft. Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed this segment of what exactly?
Creepypasta story time.
Yay! Good night, children.